So I'm here at DanCon, and I walk around, and I, of course, am drawn to the... You'll see why I'm drawn to this table. You've got the Phantom there, you got the Phantom there, Phantom and Frankenstein, Pulp will eat itself. Very pulpy vibe going on, and it's thanks to this guy here.
What's up, brother?
Aaron Chaps, who's right there.
Hello.
All right, brother.
Good. How's it going, guys?
Good, good, good. Tell me a little bit about the pulpiness you got going on. That's awesome right here.
I'm a huge fan of the pulp era. My biggest influence as a writer is definitely Edgar Rice Burroughs, but I'm also influenced by Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard and a lot of the other pulp guys.
Oh yeah.
And I also really dig like comic books from the 70s, like the Bronze Age and the early 80s. I mean, I like a lot of modern stuff. I do like a lot of other eras of, you know, pop fiction basically also, but I just think there's a purity and an excitement to the pulp era as far as prose is concerned, and I think that there's a lot to be said about the pacing as far as comic books go for the Bronze Age stuff. You know, I'm not a huge fan of decompression. I think that it's look, if people are going to shell out, you know, $4, which is what they're paying now for a comic book, you got to give them some story. You know, I mean, I don't think that the kind of 90s model of nothing but splash pages and 3-panel pages of action scenes, I don't think that that's giving people their money's worth. You know?
Right, right.
And if you look at a guy like Len Wein or Denny O'Neil, who's another huge influence on me, you know, those guys could tell Lord of the Rings in like 3 issues. You know what I mean? And it would feel like a deep story.
Right, right.
So, you know, I've kind of, I've been at this for about 5 years now, and the more I do, the more I try to move closer to, I don't want to say just pure homage to that kind of storytelling. I guess I'm trying to find my own style where I'm incorporating some of the more modern cinematic things that I like into a more decompressed feel, or a more compressed feel in the comics. And with the prose, you know, I think Stephen King said it best about a guy like Edgar Rice Burroughs, which is that, you know, technically he might not have been the slickest writer ever, but give him 100 words and you'll never forget what he wrote. You know, because he's just such a vivid storyteller.
Absolutely.
So that's why, and that's what I look to. And like I say, I think that you know, I haven't really done a scholarly analysis of it, but I think there's something to be said. I think that the pulp stuff is making a bit of a resurgence right now in general.
Oh, clearly.
And economic times are bad, and the first time around when the pulps were huge, it was the Great Depression.
Yep.
So I feel like there's something about that brand of escapism that people respond to in tougher times.
Well, it's always been a little more visceral to me. It appeals to those, and it's a little more black and white and the grays are very gray, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's very appealing. People don't want to think, they want to be entertained.
That's right. I mean, and there's certainly nothing wrong with, you know, a stream of consciousness novel, or, you know, I'm not saying that a guy like Edgar Rice Burroughs, that a guy like, you know, Robert E. Heinlein or Alfred Bester is not every bit as good, if not better, in their own ways than Edgar Rice Burroughs was. The difference is that that's much more cerebral stuff, and, you know, I think that, you know, I don't want to say that pulps were lowbrow, but I mean, I guess they kind of were, but they were lowbrow in the best possible way. You know, they were lowbrow like Evil Dead 2 is lowbrow. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, there's a charm to that kind of like lowbrow entertainment.
Absolutely.
And I mean, also, of course, the pulps in particular, I mean, anybody who's a comic book fan owes a huge debt to the pulps, because most of the early comic book writers came from the pulps, the editors have worked from the pulps, and a lot of the things that we take for granted as comic book cliches were actually recycled from the pulps.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of things. You know? Batman is basically an amalgamation of, you know, 8 different, you know, pulp characters. You know, the Phantom Detective, the Spider, the Shadow, you know, and of course like Zorro and characters like that. But yeah, I dig the old school stuff, and I'm glad people are liking it too.
So what are you working on right now?
Right now, well, the last thing I did was I did a Nick Fury story for the Marvel holiday special that came out in December. It was like a kind of a retro vibe, basically my homage to Steranko a little bit.
Nice.
But I've got a few creator-owned projects in the works right now. I'm going to be at San Diego Comic-Con with artist Douglas Klauba. We're going to be debuting a series called New Dreaming Men, which we've had in the works for a couple years. It is the most unabashed like love letter to the pulps that I've done yet.
Nice.
And then I've got a few other ones. There's one called they call call him Deadeye, which is like a horror spaghetti western that I'm doing with my buddy Mike Beasley, who is the creator of the Grimm comic book, and another series with him called Hollywood Ape Cop, which I'm actually really excited about. Hollywood Ape Cop is the story of the first gorilla to make detective in 1970s Los Angeles.
Nice.
And it's basically me doing paying tribute to all the like exploitation, blaxploitation, Italian crime films, all the like great 70s genre movies and 70s genres. And we're doing something a little different with it. It's a bit of a challenge to write because every page of Hollywood Ape Cop is exactly the same layout. It's 3 letterbox style cinematic panels, and that's it on every page, just 3 panels. So the storytelling is ultra compressed because obviously in a 22-page book with only 3 panels per page, you've got to really pick the key moments, but I think it's going to have a really cinematic and cool feel and be right for that kind of an homage.
Nice.
I got a bunch of irons in the fire, and of course I'm, still talking to Marvel about trying to see what the next thing's going to be there, and maybe something with Dark Horse might be happening soon too. So
awesome.
I got a lot of plates spinning.
Where can people find your stuff at online? You got the website going?
You know what? I do have a website. It's actually under construction right now. It's the creator-owned stuff you'll be able to get at www.generaljackcosmo.com.
Okay.
The easiest thing to do is to friend me on Facebook or to like General Jack Cosmo on Facebook. Of course, the Marvel thing and the stuff I do for Moonstone is available through Diamond and also directly from Moonstone for that stuff. And the Marvel story, I think, is pretty much sold out everywhere. But I mean, if you looked at like Midtown Comics or one of those big, a Mile High or something, I'm sure you could probably find it.
Awesome. Well, man, thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.